Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna and welcome to our weekly discussions on the Srimad Bhagavatam. We have begun reading the first verse of the first chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we have done a few sessions on the first verse already. Today we will spend some more time on the first shloka, and then from next week onwards, we will start with the second verse. So, in the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, God is being introduced, the absolute truth, the summum bonum of everything, everyone, is introduced as Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Is introduced as the son of Vasudev, that is Krishna. And then the different characteristics of absolute truth is described, and we have discussed this in the past sessions. Janmadi asya yataha, he is the source of everything. And then the verse says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadasya yatonvayaditaratas charteshva bhigya swarat tene brahmarday adi kavaye muyanti yat suraya tejo vari mridam yata vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha dhamna svena sada nirastapuvakam satyam param dhimai. So he is Janmadi Asya Yataha, he is the source of everything. And we also discussed how he is directly and indirectly aware of everything. Anyavad itaratas charteshva abhigya. Abhigya means he is conscious. Directly or indirectly, he is conscious of everything that is happening. And Swarat, independent. And we discussed all these things in the last session. How Lord has an independent existence. It's not that in our culture, we don't define God in terms of my needs. In many Judo-Christian traditions, God is defined as someone who exists because he takes care of my needs. God, please give us our daily bread. So God exists because I have needs, I have problems, and God is busy solving my problems and my friends' problems, my family's problems. Otherwise, God has no existence in these traditions. Whereas we in the Sanatana Dharma, we give God an independent identity and existence. What does God do when he's not busy solving my problems? He has an identity. He does something. He is independent. What are his pastimes? That is Krishna. And then we discussed also, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kave Muyanti Sure. He is the one who originally gave knowledge to Brahma. And today we'll continue with the other discussions. Muyanti Surya, the Lord is so extremely amazing that he puts into bewilderment the greatest of people, including the great devtas. The great gods of this material world are put into bewilderment by none other than Krishna, Muyanti Surya. And how does he do that? Tejo vari mridam yata vinimayo. Just like sometimes we see, have you seen a mirage? In a desert, sometimes you see water when actually there is no water there. So the example is given, just like sometimes you see water in a desert, similarly, Lord creates an illusion. Sometimes in a place where there is no reality, we start perceiving reality. And we start feeling that, this is true. We start taking temporary artificial things very seriously, and something which is very important, we start undermining it and neglecting it. This is the power of illusion. And this is what Srimad Bhagavatam describes, that this is how illusion is so powerful. And this also, in the verse, it is also mentioned, Yatra Trisargo Mrusha. This illusion is compounded by the three energies that the Lord has: Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. Because of these three energies, our illusion is propounded. Our illusion is multiplied. Let's give a simple example. There are people, seriously, there are people who have sold land to buy a car. Now, if you see what is of value here, land versus car, which will last a longer time. So there are people who have sold gold to buy a latest smartphone. There are people who have sold one kidney to buy a ticket for World Cup and go and watch World Cup live. So what has happened nowadays is that many people, if you compare the value of land, gold, that lasts much longer. That is more valuable than a car or a phone, which is temporary, whose value deteriorates with time. But gold and land's value increases with time. But generally what happens, the immediate prayers, what gives me pleasure now, has become, we are living at times when what gives me pleasure now clouds our intelligence so much that we can't invest our time, money, and energy on things that will give me benefits in the long run. We have become seekers of temporary gratification. And that's the extremely powerful illusory energy of the Lord. Muhyanti at Surya. And therefore, the Bhagavatam ends by saying that the three modes, Trisagro Mrisha, this is very extremely powerful three energies which blind us. Therefore, we have to connect with the Lord, who is Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuakam Satyam Param Dhimai. He stays in his own abode, the spiritual abode, and we need to connect with him and experience his reality, his presence in our lives. Therefore, the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam beckons us, invites us to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and connect with him and experience him in our lives and not get distracted by the illusory energy as we see water in land, in desert, which is a mirage. Similarly, in this world, we see many times temporary thing that glitters attracts us so much that we give that preference over things that are of most important value to us. Therefore, in the Bhagavatam, elsewhere it is mentioned that our lives become auspicious and beautiful if we make God as the center of our lives. Now, later on, we will read a beautiful verse which comes when Kunti Devi, she is praying to the Lord. And she says, my dear Lord, I am such a fool that what is important I neglected. And the most important thing is you. So she says in one very beautiful prayer, she says, Neyam shobhishyate tatra yate danim dadadara vatpader ankita bhati swalakshana vilakshite. She says, my dear Lord, everything is beautiful right now because you are there here in Hastinapur, in our kingdom. And because you are there, everywhere you walk, the footprints of your lotus feet, its imprints are there. So everything is auspicious. Everything is beautiful. But if you leave our kingdom now, Neyam Shobhishyate Tatra, if you leave our kingdom now, my dear Lord, nothing will remain beautiful. Nothing will remain auspicious. So she's teaching us how to pray. She is teaching us how to connect with this Lord. So basically the message she is conveying is, if we want our lives to be auspicious, if we want our lives to be beautiful, we have to ensure that just like Krishna stayed in Hastinapur, we have to ensure that Krishna stays in our heart. The entire message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the first verse which we read today, the first verse, first chapter, first canto, the message is invite the Lord into the heart. See, Bhagavatam has two purposes. One is open your heart so that Krishna is allowed to enter, and then close your heart so that Krishna doesn't leave. Open your heart, allow Krishna to come in, then close it so that he doesn't leave. Then our lives become auspicious. And that's why Kunti Devi is saying, Krishna, right now you are there in our kingdom. So everything is beautiful, everything is blissful. But if you leave, it will become inauspicious. Similarly, right now, we have to ask ourselves, why did Srimad Bhagavatam appear? We have discussed it in the first session, that Srimad Bhagavatam appeared after Krishna disappeared, so that we have presence of Krishna in the form of a book. Srimad Bhagavatam is exactly Krishna only, but in the form of a book. Why Krishna appears? Why Srimad Bhagavatam appears? So that we can open our hearts and keep Krishna there. Just like Kunti had Krishna in Hastinapur, we can have Krishna in our hearts if we read Srimad Bhagavatam. See, there's a very beautiful bhajan which we sing in our temple. Gopinath, Tumi Kripa Parobara, Jivera Karane, Ashiya Prapanche, Lila Koilo Suvistara. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, my dear Lord Gopinath, you are an ocean of Kripa. You are giving so much blessings. And what is your blessing? Jivera Karane, Ashiya Prapanche. It is for us that you come to this world in the form of a book, Bhagavatam. It is for us that you come as Krishna, you come as Vamana, you come as Matsya, Kurma, Rama, so that we can be attracted to you. Leela Koilo Suvistar, you expand your pastimes in this world so that books can be written about it, so that Srimad Bhagavatam is composed, so that we can connect with you, so that we can open our hearts. Therefore, the Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the very same bhajan, the next verse, he sings another beautiful line. He says, Gopinath, Tumi to sakali paro, Durjana tarite, Tumara shakati ke ache paperar. He says, my dear Lord, Tumi to sakali paro, you have amazing ability. Durjana tarite, Tumara shakati, you have the power to deliver all wicked people. You have the ability to soft, beautiful heart. You can change my negativity to positivity. So, my dear Lord, please attract my heart. Please come to the kingdom of Hastinapur like my heart and stay here and don't leave my heart. So therefore, see, this world where we are living, Krishna is always encouraging us to perform our duties in this world in such a way that we can eventually leave this world with grace and dignity and then go back to Krishna. Because whatever we are doing in this world, according to the scriptures, according to Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, text number 1, this world which we are seeing, the Bhagavad Gita says in the 15th chapter, that this is a reflection of the spiritual world. Krishna, when explaining this to Arjuna, he gives a beautiful analogy. He says, just like a banyan tree is there on the bank of the river. And when you see the banyan tree in the river water, it appears upside down. So the top branch of the tree appears down and the bottom appears on the top. So this world is like a place which is like a water, which is like a reflection. So in this world, what we consider as highest is actually the lowest in the spiritual realm or the spiritual calculation of things. And what is the highest in spiritual world, that is regarded not with so much respect in this world. Therefore, the origin is the spiritual world, which is pure. We live in this world, which is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So we perform our duties in this world in such a way that we can eventually go back to the original world. And if we try to make this world a better place, we have to do it. We have to do our duties. But we need to know that ultimately, whatever we do in this world, there will be a gnawing vacuum in our hearts always. Till we connect with Krishna, who is our eternal lover, who is our eternal master. See, there is a story. There was once a king whose beautiful princess lost a precious diamond necklace. A crow came and picked up that necklace from the window. So the princess was distraught, and the king announced that whoever gets this necklace back, he will get lot of wealth and he will also get the hand of my daughter in marriage. So one young man, he was desperate to marry the princess. He started searching for this diamond necklace. And lo and behold, as he stood on the bank of the river, he saw the necklace on the surface of the water. And he said, oh, there is the necklace. And he jumped into the water. But what happened? Obviously, there was no necklace floating on the surface of the water. And he swam hard, he splashed his hand, and he got frustrated. He came back on the shore and he said, I saw the necklace there. I couldn't get it. So his friend said, try harder, man. Get in, try harder. Hum honge kamyab ek din. Don't give up, come on. So again, he jumped into the water because he saw the reflection of the necklace in the river. And again, he tried, but he didn't get. Then he came outside and he saw There were self-help gurus and motivational speakers on the bank. They said, you didn't get it because you're not motivated enough. We will give you acronyms, we will give you techniques. Try the triple P formula, try this or take this. So everybody gave different suggestions. Then one sadhu came with a big beard and he said, you wear this taviz, this necklace, this locket, or you do this yagya, you will get that necklace. You will get it. You will get success. Again, he went in with all the self-help and motivation and he struggled. Do you think he will find that necklace on the surface of the river? He didn't. And finally, when he came out, one very compassionate sadhu held his head and held his neck and tilted it up and told him to look at the branch of the tree where the crow had put the necklace. And that necklace was reflected on the river water. And then when he looked up, he saw, oh, the necklace is there. Then he climbed the tree and got the necklace. And then eventually the story is that he won the reward, he won the prince's hand, and they lived happily ever after. Well, this is a story which we still hear in childhood, but this story had a profound message. The prince, actually, the young man actually wouldn't find the necklace in the water. Reflection, you don't get the real thing. The real thing you get in the spiritual world. So we look for happiness, we look for fulfillment in this world, and we dive deep into the world. But whatever you do, that fulfillment won't come unless we look at a reality beyond ourselves. There is a reality beyond my existence, beyond my tiny life. There is a much, much bigger reality. If I don't explore that reality, I will never be happy here. I have met so many people over the last 25 years in my Krishna consciousness preaching, and I've met successful people, satisfied people, but still they always feel something is lacking in my life because Krishna element is not there. I mean, we have to do things that we need to do. Definitely, we have to take care of our family, we have to do the job, we have to do the right things. But at the end of the day, ye dil mange more. And there is something that the heart will be satisfied only when it is connected with Krishna. Only God can completely satisfy the heart. And I want to clarify, we are not suggesting an extreme step here that, okay, this world, don't ignore this world, ignore the responsibilities of this world, and only focus on the spiritual world. No. This world, if you focus only on this world, then we are in illusion. And if we focus only on the spiritual world by ignoring our this world responsibilities, then we are in hallucination. So only focusing on this world is illusion, and only focusing on God immaturely, that is hallucination. I hope you understand. Illusion and hallucination. So what we need to do is, Bhagavad Gita gives us very practical techniques which Bhagavatam elaborates in great detail. Srimad Bhagavad Gita has 700 shlokas and Bhagavatam has 18,000 shlokas. And the Bhagavatam explains in great detail what is given in Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna very clearly says, don't be in extreme. We know that this world cannot give me complete happiness. And at the same time, we can't ignore this world because we are born here, we are part of this world, we have our attachments here. So the formula Krishna gives is, do what needs to be done here, but put your mind and heart in me. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishashi satyam te pratijane priyosime. In the 9th chapter and 18th chapter of Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, just invest your mind in me. Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Remember me, offer your respects to me. Mame vaishashi satyam te. I speak the truth, my dear Arjuna. Pratijane priyosme. You will become most dear to me because you're always remembering me. Krishna also explains to Arjuna that through Arjuna is telling all of us, okay, you have a job in the stock market, go to the stock market. You have a responsibility of taking care of your children, take care of your children. But whatever you do, yat karoshi yat joshi yadashnashi tatosi yat karoshi yadashnashi yat joshi tadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva mad arpanam. Whatever you do, offer it to me, connect with me. So Krishna is not telling us to give up anything. Krishna is telling us to add Krishna in our lives. In fact, Krishna tells Arjuna to the extent that fight your battle, but while fighting, remember me. And I'm sure all of you also have battles to fight, right? You all have different battles, relationship battles, job battles, health battles. So many fronts of fighting battles like Arjuna was fighting. So what is Krishna's formula? Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha mayarpita mano buddhir. Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, at all times, mam anusmara, remember me, but mam anusmara yudhyacha, you fight also and remember me also. Krishna doesn't say only keep fighting. Krishna doesn't say only keep remembering me. Krishna says fight, and while fighting, remember me. And if you do that, you will become mature. And when you eventually the time comes to die, you will be able to go back to Krishna. So this is the message of the Gita. And Srimad Bhagavatam, what we are doing every week classes here, the whole purpose is so that we read the prayers, we read the shlokas, and so that we can connect with Krishna and help remember him while we are fighting our battles. I don't know anyone who is not fighting a battle in this world. All of us are like Arjuna. And we need to remember Krishna. And Bhagavatam appeals to us that as you are fighting, please remember that there is a reality beyond all of this. There is a reality of the spiritual world. Don't get trapped. Don't be foolish. Don't think that this is the only reality. See, the point is, Bhagavatam, if you read consistently, you will come to the amazing realization that Bhagavatam regularly, every 2 shlokas, you'll find this. This world is not your home. This world is a bridge. Don't make houses in the bridge. Use this world as a bridge to go back to spiritual world, because this world is a miserable place. Now, when I was a young preacher, when I was like 23, 24 years old, and I used to go to colleges and preach, and I used to preach to young boys, and when I used to tell them, Bhagavad Gita says this world is a miserable place, the young boys would challenge me. And they would tell me, oh, what is this miserable place? This world is a great place. And because they used to get their money, pocket money from their parents, and they used to enjoy in the hostels, they had no idea of what suffering is. They had everything ready-made. So they said, Prabhuji, there is no problem. Life is cool. Just enjoy. I said, no, but Bhagavad Gita says there is a lot of suffering and there is a lot of misery, and they would challenge me. And because I was also young, I also couldn't answer them convincingly. And now I am 49, and the people I'm preaching to are grahasthas, married people who have their own families. And when I tell them even a little bit that this world is a place of suffering, they immediately nod their heads because they have seen life. They have gone through so much suffering. And even I have become 49, and I also realized that, wow, life is not a roller coaster, But the best part about this material world is, material world doesn't give equal misery to all at the same time. Listen to this. Material world gives, now if you are in a big miserable situation, material energy is so expert. Krishna's material energy is denoted in the feminine gender, Maya Devi. She's such an expert director of this world that when she's giving you misery, she will give me a lot of happiness. And when I am miserable, you're like a little comfortable. See, she's expert because if she gives all of us, let's say right now 19 people are there online in the class. Imagine all 19 of us, if we were going through intense suffering right now, all of us, then we all will form a union and we will declare this world is bad. If all the people in this material world suffered equal misery at the same time, everybody will come together and declare that this world is a miserable place and we should get out of this world. But you will see that never happens because material energy is expert. She will not give all of us suffering. She will only give some of us. She will always keep us divided and confused. Some of us will be in the deep pit of suffering, and some of the others in this group will be living in hope. Maybe I didn't enjoy properly. Maybe next time, if I do it better, I'll enjoy better. So somebody is never enjoyed. Somebody is enjoyed and suffered. Somebody is suffered, but he's thinking, I will do it better next time. So material energy makes a great fool of us. And Bhagavatam, what Srimad Bhagavatam does, Srimad Bhagavatam is like that, light. We say that tube light, we call some people, they don't understand, they say, a tube light hai. What that means is basically you're confused, you're not sure, but Bhagavatam is like that sunlight. When that light comes on, all the darkness goes away. So right now, we are suffering, but our worst part is we don't even realize we are suffering. But Bhagavatam makes everything clear. Why are we suffering? What caused suffering? How can we get out of this? When we were small, when I joined this temple 25 years ago, there was a Gurukul here. There was an orphanage called Lady Northport Hindu Orphanage. Now, I don't want to get into the details, but 33 years ago, there was a proper orphanage with lots of children, and many of them were not from good background. So sometimes some boy would be mischievous. You know how the other boys took revenge? There's an interesting story I've heard from the orphanage leaders who are managing. So the mischievous boy would come in the night, or he would be sleeping at night. So 10 other boys would make a plan, would make a strategy. Midnight, 12 o'clock, they all would get up. And one of them would put up one blanket on the boy who's sleeping. And all the other 10 boys would kick him hard. They would kick him, beat him, punch him. And after they beat him really hard, then one boy would whistle. As soon as he would whistle, all the boys would put their blanket on top of this boy. So this boy would have 10 blankets on top of him. And then the boys would disperse and go back to their respective bed and sleep. So when this boy would remove all the 10 blankets, it would take him time. He's already been beaten so badly. Then he would remove all the blankets. And after removing all the blankets, by the time he understands and switches on the light, he sees everybody else is sleeping. So he doesn't know who has beaten. He's not able to find out. So this is what happens to us in this world. We go through kicks and beatings and everything, and by the time we understand what's happening, it's too late. We don't understand who caused it, what happened, kahan se maar pada, kisne laat mara, we don't understand anything. But Srimad Bhagavatam is like what, as they are getting beaten, Srimad Bhagavatam is like, the light is on. And immediately we are able to see the whole reality. And all the pain and suffering immediately disperses because we can see the reality. See, suffering is universal, suffering is bad, but ignorance of our suffering makes it worse. And Srimad Bhagavatam removes that ignorance. See, darkness is bad, but imagine in darkness, you carry a sword with you in a room full of people. You carry a sword and start dangling it and running around with the sword in darkness. That is worse. Similarly, ignorance is bad, but suffering is bad. But then when ignorance and suffering come together, it's like, carrying a sword and causing harm to everyone and ourselves. Srimad Bhagavatam brings an end to this. Therefore, it is important that we study Srimad Bhagavatam. So if we show even little interest, even if we show little interest in Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna will remove us from this problem, which we have discussed today. Etra trisargom vrisha. Krishna is saying that these three modes are causing a lot of suffering to us, because Krishna is giving a very beautiful analogy. He's saying, he's giving an example of a mirage. The verse, the exact lines he uses is in the verse, beautiful line. I want to read it again. The third line. Tejo vari mridam yata vinimayo. Just like seeing water in desert. So therefore, this mirage is what keeps us bewildered. So if we show little interest, what Krishna will do, he will pull us away. And he will give us an aerial view towards our own life. Right now, just imagine you're on a battlefield and fighting an enemy, but you have no idea if the enemy is coming from behind or from north, from west, because you're only having a two-dimensional view of reality. But if you're on a helicopter, you get a much better vision, right? Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam will put us on a helicopter. It will help us see our lives from an aerial vision. Then we will be able to see what exactly is happening in our lives. We'll get clarity. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam reveals who is Krishna. One of the verses in the fourth, I was reading the Prachetas prayers to Lord Vishnu. I mean, amazing prayer, That increased my faith in Bhagavatam. That increased my faith in Krishna when I read this prayer. where Prachetas are telling Lord Vishnu, Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya Hare Hari Medase Vasudevaya Krishnaya Prabhave Sarva Sattvatam. They are saying, my dear Lord, you are not ordinary sattva or ordinary good person. You are Vishuddha Sattvaya. You are transcendental. And the best part about you is, you are not only removing our distress. Hare. Hari means somebody who takes away. Krishna's one name is Hari. Har lena. Le lena. So Krishna takes away our misery. But the best part about Krishna is, Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya Hare. But the best part comes now. Hare Hari Medase. Hari Medase means somebody whose brain is always active to remove our distress. Krishna is not only removing our distress, my dear friends. Krishna is actively all the time thinking, how can I help him? How can I help Abhishek? How can I help Rajan Padia? How can I help Dina? How can I help Trisha? How can I help Ekta? Krishna is always thinking like this. How can I help? Hare Hari Medase. He is constantly planning, thinking how I can remove the distress of my devotee. Isn't this an amazing Lord? Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya Hare Hari Medase. And how does he do it? How does Krishna do? How does Krishna remove our misery? How does he think of our problems? Vasudevaya Krishnaya. Vasudeva means the all-pervading aspect of Krishna, who is present in our heart as Paramatma. He notices our struggle, and if we turn to him, he gives us the intelligence. And if you're not so comfortable connecting to the Lord in the heart, he is also coming as Krishna, as a person Krishna in the form of a deity. So as Vasudeva, as Krishna, he is constantly racking his brains to help us overcome our suffering. And not only that, the last line says, Prabhave Sarva Sattvatam. He is also constantly thinking how to increase the influence of his devotees. So if you are a devotee, Krishna wants to increase your influence. Krishna wants you to be more impactful. Krishna wants you to reach out to more people. In fact, the Bhagavatam repeatedly says, the Lord is not happy seeing us in misery. He wants us to get out of this suffering condition. Namo Namah Klesha Vinashanaya Nirupito Dara Guna Vahaya Mano Vacho Vega Puro Javaya Sarvaksha Marge Agatadvane Nama. The Prachetas in another prayer they say, oh my dear Lord, my respects to you because Namo Namah Klesha Vinashanaya. You are the one who will do vinash of my klesha. Klesha means my difficulty. Vinasha means removing. The Lord's amazing quality is he removes the suffering in our lives. Namo Namah Klesha Vinashanaya. So you may say, Acha, Prabhuji, Krishna removes all the suffering from my life, but I have a doubt. Let me see statistics. So you may start analyzing statistically. In the next line, they are saying, no, don't do analysis. Nirupito dara guna vahaya. Nirupita. Nirupita means it is already conclusively established. Like, when we were small, we used to do mathematics in school. We used to have, in the sum, we used to do in the end, we used to write hence proved. HP. Hence proved. That is Nirupito dara. So the Prachetas are saying, my dear Lord, so many examples are there in Bhagavatam. So many instances are there in history. When devotees are suffering, you come and remove their distress. This is Nirupito Dara Guna Vahaya. It is conclusively established that if somebody remembers your name and your qualities, Guna Vahaya, then they have no problem. They will be happy in the midst of all suffering. And if you try to analyze the Lord, Mano Vacho Vega Puro Javaya. If I use my brain and my intelligence to understand God, I cannot understand God because Sarvaksha Marge Ragatadvane Nama. If I use all my intelligence to understand God, I cannot understand God. But if God decides that I will reveal myself, then we can understand God easily. Therefore, in the Bhagavatam it is mentioned, Manas Apartam Vilasadvayaya. Bhagavatam says, if your manas apartam, if your mind is engaged and connected with Krishna, listen to this. This is extremely powerful. Manas apartam vilasad dvayaya. If the mind somehow touches Krishna, if you just remember Krishna's form, if your mind simply remembers some pastime of Krishna, what will happen? Manas apartam vilasad dvayaya. Means the enjoyment and the suffering of this world, which is born out of duality, appears completely unattractive and meaningless to us if our mind is somehow connected with Krishna. Because Krishna will give us a higher taste. And when you get a higher taste, then you feel, Arey, kya hai? Sab phaltu hai. This world ka suffering it doesn't affect you. A higher taste is what we need. The Bhagavad Gita also says, Param drishtva nivartate rasavarjam rasopyasya. If you get a higher taste, then the taste of this world will not attract us, will not entice us. And it's like somebody's eating only dry bread, pav, and dry chapati, which is like 4 days old, and that too once in 4 days. He don't know what is good food, and then suddenly somebody comes and gives him pineapple butter halwa, rich, and somebody gives him rice, dal makhani, and paneer makhan wala, and roti, and pizzas, pastas. Then after that, and if he's guaranteed that every day, will he go back to eating his dry pav and that dry roti? Because he's got a higher taste. But those who haven't experienced higher taste, they challenge. Oh, what do you know? How can you say there is no enjoyment in material world? Because they haven't experienced the higher taste, they think that doesn't exist. Are you getting it? Like, I'll give a simple example. One of my very close friends, his mother was working in a bank in Mumbai. So she was traveling in the local train from Borivali to South Bombay, peak hours in the morning. So the traffic, and I remember when we used to go to their house for holidays, we used to take lunch. I remember telling Auntie, oh, you have to travel in the peak hours from Borivali to Churchgate. See, I used to stay at Kola Cuff Parade, so I didn't have to travel against the traffic. Morning, I would go to north. I had to go in an MP train. So I would tell her, Auntie, aapko bahut difficult hota hoga. It must be very difficult for you to travel in the peak hours. So she said, no, it's comfortable. I said, how can it be comfortable? People are dangling, and the compartment is packed. She said, no, but it's okay. I don't feel. I said, no, Mataji, it can't be comfortable. She said, no, it's comfortable. I'm okay. So I couldn't convince her. Then what happened? Something interesting happened. Mataji was my friend's mother was transferred to Assam. She went to a place, very hilly station, beautiful place, scenery, and there was a lake near her house, and she had to walk 10 minutes to the office every day, fresh air and everything. And then after working there for 2 years, she was transferred back to Mumbai. And then when she had to travel to Churchgate, and then when we went to her house for lunch, and she was only complaining about the local train. She's saying, horrible this local train. I have to travel every day in this crowd. And I was looking at her and I said, Auntie, remember a few years back you said it is comfortable? She said, yeah, but now I got a higher taste. Now I saw what it is to travel, to go to office. So what is happening with us, many of us, is we are like Auntie in the first innings. We only know happiness through eating, sex life, defending, and sleeping, and basically gross activities is what we know. And we haven't experienced the pleasure of remembering Krishna. We haven't experienced Krishna's sweet pastimes. We haven't experienced chanting kirtan. So because of that, we think these don't exist. And we are comfortable in our local train, peak hours traveling. And then if we get a higher taste, and then even if we go back to enjoying material life, we will be like frustrated. We'll say, Prabhuji, aaj main wo kiya, but itna ganda laga. I went with my friends to that bar, they were all drinking, and I was like so disgusted, Prabhuji. And you will be shocked. Once upon a time, you enjoyed that setting, that smell in the bar. People, there are devotees who have confessed to me that when they go to a bar, the place where I was staying, we had 2 very famous liquor bars next to our house, close to our house. One was called Gokul Bar and Restaurant, and the other one was called Vrindavan Bar and Restaurant. Both had Vrindavan names. They were very famous. So they would say, today we'll go to Vrindavan. And my friend would say, today we'll go to Gokul. Gokul and Vrindavan were not holy places for them. They were abode of drunkards. So I know I have friends who would visit there and they would enjoy the smell, the fragrance, the cigarettes, and the liquor flowing. And then they became devotees. They got higher taste. They actually went to Gokul. I took them on a yatra. We went to Vrindavan, Gokul Mahavan in Vrindavan, and they took part in kirtan, they took prasad, they enjoyed with devotees. And then when they went back to their friends and their friends had come back, they took them that Gokul and Vrindavan of Kolaba, the bar, restaurant. And when they went there, they were choked there. They couldn't stand it because they got a higher taste. And this is a taste which Srimad Bhagavatam is inviting us to experience. And this taste will come. We can't demand this. We can't say, Krishna, I'm reading Bhagavatam every Tuesday. I'm coming for the class. So you have to give me mercy. No, we won't get this taste when we demand it. We have to beg from Krishna and we have to accept. Krishna is transcendental. We can't figure him out. We can't say, I know Krishna very well now. We can't figure out matter. We can't understand this world. We can't see, can you see air? But we know air exists. See, as the elements get subtler, we can't see them. We can see earth, water, fire, but air, ether, we can't see mind. Can you see the mind? Can you see intelligence? Can you see the intelligence? But we know we can see intelligence through its symptom. Can you see ego? But we all know what is ego. So if we can't see an ego, intelligence, mind, they're all matter. They're all material, subtle material elements. So if we can't see matter, how can we see Krishna with our blunt material senses? So we cannot. Therefore, what we need him to see us. We need his mercy. When we come to temple, we don't come to temple. Krishna, see, I've come. Better notice me. I'm there. I've seen Krishna today. No, we don't come to see Krishna. We come to be seen by Krishna. When Srila Prabhupada was challenged, have you seen God? Prabhupada said, we don't want to see God. We want to serve in such a way that God wants to see us. We are not proud people, I want to see God. No, we want God to see us. Krishna, please be merciful to me. And when God decides to see us, wow, life will become so sublime. There's a true story. The devotees in America, they were trying to meet the president of America. They didn't get appointment. They thought if they meet him, they take a photograph, devotees will become popular. So it is very difficult to meet the president of America. They went to the White House, but the POTUS never met them. So they gave up and they were doing kirtan in the streets. And that time the president of America was Jimmy Carter. And Jimmy Carter saw one television news show, and the television news showed about devotees doing kirtan. And he was so fascinated. He said, who are these guys? Hey, they are doing, this is so nice. This is so energetic. This is so positive. He called his secretary, chief of staff, and he said, get all of them to my office tomorrow. I want to see all of them. So when President Jimmy Carter announced that he wants to see the devotees, the president's chief of staff immediately contacted the news channel, immediately contacted the devotees, and within 24 hours, these devotees whom the president had seen, these devotees whom the president decided I will see them, they all were on a plane and they came to see the president of USA. See, they were trying to see him, but they couldn't see. But when he decided I want to see, they all could see him. So when what we are doing, chanting, reading Bhagavatam, we are doing all this hoping that Krishna will see us and Krishna will give us mercy. Unfortunately, what happens, many people, they become angry with Hare Krishnas. They think, oh, you're just enjoying, you're chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. No, we are practical people. We do our business, we do our job, we take care of our families. And we also study Bhagavatam. But we know at the end of the day, we know that this world cannot give me deep, lasting fulfillment. This is the Bhagavatam's main message. And that's why people don't like. People get disturbed when they come to Bhagavatam classes is because they see Bhagavatam doesn't flatter. Bhagavatam doesn't give empty promises that you see on the billboards, on the hoardings outside. Everybody's cheating us when they tell us just buy this toothpaste and you will be happy always. Okay, and a toothpaste give you happiness. How can you buy a product and always keep smiling? This is all illusion. This is cheating. Just imagine somebody does, this nowadays, these children gave NEET exam for medical entrance, national eligibility entrance test. It's, I think, common entrance test for all the medical schools in India. So imagine somebody gives a NEET exam and with great difficulty manages to get admission in a medical college, and then she studies hard, and then she says, oh, AIIMS, All India Institute of Medical Science, New Delhi is the #1 ranked college. She wants to find out who's the topper of the NEET exam. The topper is joined AIIMS, and then she wants to meet the AIIMS topper, and she visits, and then she understands this fellow has done some super specialization and then all that. And then finally she goes to see him face to face, and she discovers that this man has abandoned medicine and he practices Ayurveda. So if this student, after so much hard work, endeavors and finds out that, oh, the person I was eulogizing and desperate to meet, he's practicing Ayurveda. Or if some student struggles very hard and gets into IIT and wants to meet the IIT topper, first rank holder in the joint entrance exam, and then he goes to see him and he says, that fellow has become a brahmachari. That fellow has left everything. So what will happen to this student? This is what is happening with the people of this world. We all want to earn money. We all want to be happy in this world. We all want to be youthful and beautiful. And then we see who is the most wealthy man, who is the most beautiful. Oh, Parikshit Maharaj. He was emperor not of India. He was not president of America or prime minister of India. He was the president of the whole planet Earth. He was the emperor of the planet Earth. He was youthful. He was handsome. He was wealthy. And he left everything. And he renounced everything and went to the bank of Ganga to take shelter of Krishna. This really disturbs people because we spend our entire life earning money, looking youthful, wanting to be famous. And here is somebody who had all of it and he gave it up because he got so attracted to Krishna. So this is what bewilders people. People are shocked when they see that somebody could give up everything for Krishna. And instead of understanding how Krishna is all attractive and coming closer to Krishna, they run away from Krishna. Therefore, in our classes, we are repeatedly announcing Krishna doesn't want you to give up anything. Krishna wants you to balance everything by remembering Krishna. And let Krishna take over your life. Let Krishna attract you. If you do this, then our lives will be sublime. Then our lives will be very beautiful. So I will stop here. If you have any questions regarding the first verse, next week we'll start with the second verse of the Bhagavatam. We'll take some questions now, or then we will end, or we'll start with the next verse next time. Any comments or questions regarding today's discussion?
Hare Krishna. May I ask one? Of course, it is not connected to this first verse, but it is connected to one that you spoke just now, probably few minutes back. You mentioned that Bhagavatam can give us a helicopter view. Prabhuji, can you please elaborate? Can you please explain exactly what kind of experience can we have? I'm just intrigued. I want to understand, Prabhuji, what kind of experience it will be beneficial for all of us, Prabhuji.
See what happens, See, there are different kinds of meditation in this world, right? You know what is meditation? Oh, last week we were doing relaxed meditation with Prem. Right?
Yes.
So there are 3 kinds of meditation. Srimad Bhagavatam will help you connect with the third type of meditation. The lowest level of meditation is relaxed meditation, where you just sit like this and you relax. You're not focusing on breathing or you're not focusing on anything, you're just relaxing. And the whole focus of this meditation is to release all the negativity, to let go, relax. So you keep an alarm for 2 minutes, and when you relax and you do meditation, after 2 minutes you feel fresh. And some of them may go to sleep also. That's also okay, because the goal of relaxed meditation is to relax. So this relaxed meditation gives you peace. But there's a higher level of meditation that is called awareness meditation. Awareness meditation gives you clarity. What is awareness meditation? Awareness meditation is when you sit down but you are not relax. Your goal is not to relax or let go. Your goal is to be aware. So you see everything like a child. You see a child look at things. You see babies how they look. They stare, as if they take everything with so much. They are present. So awareness meditation is when you are present. Like for example, I am sitting in this room. Outside my window, I can see a banyan tree. I can see birds. So when I'm seeing everything as if I'm seeing them for the first time, or if I'm seeing everything as if I'm seeing for the last time, or if I'm hearing something as if I'm hearing for the first time, or if I'm hearing as if I'm hearing for the last time. Imagine somebody tomorrow is going to pluck away my eyes and ears. So how will I hear now? Imagine today is the last day you can see your family. How will you see? With what eyes you will see them? That's the way you could see the trees. That's the way you could see everything around you. So in this awareness meditation, what happens? You are present. And that's when you're present, you get clarity. Things become crystal clear. All the confusion, all the muddle, all the muddle gets cleared. Declutter yourself. Like I'll give a simple example. Two things I could never stand. Two things I hate the most of Mumbai till recently was the traffic horns. Bang, bang, bang. Because if you go to Europe or America, you go to Western countries, nobody honks. In India, everybody is honking. In fact, they put a big board out behind the trucks. Horn, okay, please. You horn. Horn bajaiye. As if it's like, it's very irritating, the horns. And the crows sound. I couldn't stand the crows. Ka, ka, ka. But what happened because of this awareness meditation, just being present without judging, without bias, without passing a statement, judgment, just listening to everything and seeing everything. After doing it for 1 week, I was very comfortable in the midst of a lot of traffic noise and honking. And the crows, cow, cow, I was like, wow, it's okay. I became indifferent to it. So why I'm saying this, coming back to the point, this is awareness meditation. Because it takes you an aerial view, it gives you a higher view. So if we read Bhagavatam attentively, without judgment, is this real? How can this be possible? Without doubting, with faith and with an open heart. Remember, we began the class by saying, open your heart to allow Krishna and then close your heart. Don't let Krishna go. See, if you have an open heart policy when we read Bhagavatam, then it will help you practice what is called as awareness meditation. It will help you access a reality beyond your present world. And then you'll get answers to some vexing problems. See, when I give classes, when you hear a Bhagavatam class, we want practical class. Prabhuji, give practical. No, there is nothing called Bhagavatam classes can never be practical. The speaker speaks his ecstasy, you hear with awareness meditation, attention. So when you hear from within your heart, the solutions to your problems will come. Just imagine, I'm a renunciant. In ISKCON, I've seen Grahasthas go in large numbers to hear a class by a sannyasi. Now, the Grahastha's problems, what can a sannyasi know? Sannyasi doesn't have wife, children, bank account. And Grahasthas have to deal with this. And they hear the class and they say, oh, class was so practical. Maharaj gave so much guidance. Oh, I got answers to my problems. How can he give? He is like a fish in water. You are like a bird in the sky. A bird cannot understand the problem of a fish, and a fish cannot understand the problem of a bird. But how come Grahasthas get inspiration from a sannyasi? Because he is speaking pure Bhagavatam, representing pure Bhagavatam, and Grahastha is hearing attentively with an open heart. So he is landing up practicing awareness meditation. And because of that, automatically the answers are revealed to him, and he's like, Eureka, yes, that's it. He's able to put all the dots together and he's able to get an answer to his problem. So for that, you need to be present when you're hearing and studying Bhagavatam. This is awareness meditation. And the third is spiritual meditation. We will discuss some other time. The class was not on meditation. The class was to answer your question about aerial view. So that's how it helps. Does that answer your question, Rajan?
Yeah, perfect. Probably yes. What you said is that awareness, like we have experienced when we are hearing, we are getting the answers. It is like we feel as if he's speaking to us. It is speaking for
Each
us.
one feels.
Each one feels like that. So that is how we get the answer, and that is how yes, the Bhagavatam helps in that awareness. Yeah, that's very nice. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Beautiful.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So very grateful to all of you for your participation. Eagerly looking forward to meeting you next Tuesday. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.